We're live.
Oh, excuse me. You like my little snail? Electric snail?
That's something.
Do they know what that is?
I don't know what an electric snail is. Scale.
It's a chamber chiller.
Oh.
That's all. She was wondering what that is. Dear Lord, it's loud. I'll kill the sound. Feedback mode.
So, we've got kind of a lot going on this year, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of reviews this year, lots of interesting technology we got to look at, and a lot of opinions we got to make. There's been a lot of evolutions even too in the scope industry, and different things coming out, and certain people passing each other. Like, you know how it is in NASCAR? Sometimes the car that normally wins all the time doesn't always win, and then sometimes one that you wouldn't expect to win wins or pulls ahead, and so that's kind of like the world with anything else.
Are we like a lucky horse then? Is that what you're saying?
A lucky horse? Well, I'm not a lucky horse. Oh, you're talking about us?
Yeah, like Rex reviews. Like,
no.
We're like the lucky horse. Hi, Nader Tater.
Hey, did you guys ever see this? I wear this when I want to feel fancy. Right, I'll wear it now. Then they'll think I'm cool, right? That's my $8 Walmart watch right there. Look at that thing.
$8.
Oh yeah.
So shiny.
At that first class we had though, we had a guy that has the AR jammed up, you know, and dude started pounding on it with a mallet or something like that. And I'm like, whoa, well, easy. We got to do this old school way. Got to butt slam it, you know. And so I'm like, is it cool if I butt slam this rifle with your nice optic on there? Ah, no problem, man. One was stuck in there, so it came down on it and wham, slammed it on the ground, and all the pins on this watch fell out along with the, you know, the extraction happening. So the cartridge flew out and then my watch fell on the ground. It's like it lasted me literally like 7 hours. But I didn't know they have warranties though. You go back to Wally World and they'll put the pins back in on there. Pretty slick.
Really? They put the pins
back
in?
Yeah, so Rex reviews this, what brand is it? Base metal bezel. There's no brand on it.
Oh gosh. Hey, speaking of reviews and stuff working out though, I have to tell you guys, I dropped my fancy cell phone on the ground, and it's a Samsung Galaxy S7. I dropped it when I was crossing the street, and a semi and 2 cars drove over it, and it still works. Like,
yeah, she has it.
It's in cellophane.
Look at how there's cellophane all over it. Because it'll freaking, all the glass pieces will fall off.
Will fall out and like cut you. But it works. And
someone send this lady a donation. Don't you have a donation button someplace?
No, that's for Rex reviews. Not for,
no.
Not for Casey's cell phone problems.
Casey's cell phone problems need addressing.
I mean, it works though. No use fixing it if it's not broke, right?
Oh dear.
Good.
So we do have a prime point of this video that we're working our way up to, and then we'll take lots of questions. I see you guys are already asking questions about Sako, and yes, I really actually Sako. Some guys say Seiko. I got corrected a while back. No, it's Sako, I guess. I don't know. I'll probably get corrected on that deal too. But I really like Sako. I think they make good rifles. Like the TRG series are like really, really good. Their 338 Lapo Magnum is like my favorite over-the-counter factory rifle that you can buy straight from the factory in that caliber. So they're a good weapon for sure. Do we take Bitcoin? Do you have Bitcoin?
We do not take Bitcoin as a form of currency currently.
It's every bit as legitimate as the Federal Reserve note, so I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I just don't know how to grab them.
We might actually
have to
give me some
give me some Bitcoins.
Give me some of those.
Yeah, hand me a few. Like, well,
I mean, we could set up an account and trade with you guys if you'd like. But currently, no, we do have PayPal. That's what we're functioning on.
Yeah, for her phone account.
Not for my phone account.
Dear.
Don't send me a phone. It's okay. It works, guys.
So the subject of today's live stream, and this is streaming. Hey, Lou, how you doing, brother? The purpose of today's live stream is to show you this.
Dun da da da. TROM.
Yeah, it's actually a purple box. It looks blue on there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it might be depending on their screen resolution too. Could just be ours.
There's some interesting technology coming out. Now, I'll tell you what, a lot of times you get stuff in for review and it's not interesting.
It doesn't have anything
and they're
like,
dude, what did you think? And I'm like, well, it's ammo, it shoots good, you know, it's a relatively good deal, you know. Like actually a lot of the stuff I use is pretty good stuff, like Fioki, or however you say that.
I like Fioki a lot.
This is what I run in like my defensive weapon down here.
That one?
This little guy. I run Fioki in here a lot of times, like for inside the house kind of stuff with ballistic tips. If there's bad guys, like really bad guys, then I'll throw in the old green tips wherever they're at, and the other AR right over here. This one. If I have to run out into the wilderness in the dark, they'll get a dose of the M85. That's my thermal. That's that pulsar. Don't you remember the pulsar?
The one that we played with.
Yeah, that's that night vision deal.
Sweet.
No bunny rabbit is safe with the pulsar or other critters.
That thing's really cool, though. Works really good.
Yeah, you will win if you have that and the other guy doesn't. We'll just put it like that. But so a lot of times there's some interesting reviews that a guy gets to do. Like, for example, we'll go over some of them afterwards. But one deal that I got, I'll just tell you the story because we're not going to lie what happened. So someone approached an ammunition outfit called TROM, T-R-O-M Tech, okay? And they said, we got some really fancy bullets in loaded ammunition that's like real high speed, low drag, cool stuff, you know. And everyone says that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you bet. And you never really want to refuse like ammo because otherwise I'll spend $30,000 in 1 year on ammo to do reviews and people wonder why I'm broke all the time. So, because I actually like to shoot all this stuff. At least like this year I've been kind of laid up a bit, so I haven't shot near as much as I have. But I never turned down ammunition. So I thought, okay, and then here comes a box of ammo. Did you have a question?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you guys know we can see your comments. We're just going to wait to take them until afterwards. So I see you, Greg. I know you've been commenting, and Brandon and everybody else. We will take your questions. We're just going to wait for a little bit.
We'll cover the primary subject material, and then we'll take 8 trillion questions or less. But at any rate, so we get a lot of these different reviews in, and you know, or things to review in, and it's like, it's not, you know, you're not in a hurry to really jump on it right away because you got all kinds of other stuff that are priorities, you know. And so they called back again and said, you get a chance to look at that. And I'm like, oh man, I feel bad, like I didn't. And then they're like, let's let you talk to the guy who's like in charge of this deal. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, because he really wants you to talk to him before you go live with any opinions. And so I called the man, and I won't say who it is, but the guy who kind of was like at the forefront of the design here. And after talking with that guy for like, I don't know, a couple hours at least, and then a bunch of pages of notes, like, I'm actually excited to really look into this stuff. We already got some other guys on the periphery checking this stuff out. Our ballistic expert, Mr. Colin Burns, is already working on adjusting the deltas on the G1 adjustments for the drop, because these are like a different animal. And the G7 doesn't quite get them right. G1 doesn't get them right. So when they publish their crazy ballistic coefficient values on this ammunition, like, people think they're crazy lying because it's way awesome. Yep. So they got a lot of this. Is for a 300 blackout, and we'll get into the details in a minute. But what we got here is some interesting ammunition that like breaks the mold. And so they're going to have to come up with some proprietary ballistic software adjustments. And that's what we're working on right now, to actually plot how it flies, because it acts totally different than the G1 drag model and the G7 test projectile. If you guys don't remember what I'm talking about there, go watch my video reviews on that. Sniper 101. We talk about G1 versus G7.
Do they have?
They're test projectiles that they use to base the BCs on. And as the bullet varies from those test projectiles, it'll still kind of act like that, but it's never exactly perfect. And if it's too radically different from that, kind of like a lot of long-range profile bullets are very close to G7 profile, then G1 becomes less and less effective, and G7 becomes more and more effective. But these are so radically different that they'll plot out, you know, to the first 700 yards or so, and then after that, they start acting weird. And so I want to cover that today. There's 3 different kinds, and these guys have been working on some interesting proprietary projectile designs for a long time. And these are just 3 samples I got. I got 2 different kinds of 308 here, And then I got one sample of the 300 blackout. And actually, I have a lot more of this than just these boxes of ammo.
We had a guy curious about the 308. Could we show him the bullet?
Yeah, you want to see the 308? And we got a couple different ones. This is the supersonic 1100 meter 308 round here.
It's pretty cool. Their bullets look cool even.
They're solid monolith. So let's start with the basics. So what we have here is a solid monolithic bullet. That means this, there's different terms for this in engineering, but it's one material. It's not a jacketed lead core projectile. It's all solid bronze, if I believe I'm correct. And wow. I didn't ask them if they're machined, but it almost looks like it is machined. But they're an interesting projectile. These are actually lighter than what you might be used to. I think they're 134 grains on these 308s and on the 300 blackouts here. So they're a lighter weight. They're proportionately stouter, so they're shorter than they are wide. Like usually in a long-range profile bullet with a high BC, they'll have a long, sleek bullet to achieve that. These are actually shorter with a higher BC, and we'll explain that in a minute, and we'll explain why that's important. So this is going to be kind of an in-depth deal for, like, if you're really into long-range projectiles and long-range shooting, this is the live stream for you for the moment, and then we'll get into the crazy stuff later, okay? Like this thing, the snails, the electric snails. Yeah. So stay tuned for that if you want to see that. So don't run away just yet.
We've had two questions. Are they cut on the lathes?
I was just trying to discern that. I didn't ask them that question when we talked, but I do see marks that look like they have been cut on a lathe. I don't know if that's true or not, but they appear to be just at a glance, okay?
And then another guy was wondering the estimated price on these.
I don't know that answer either, but I think they're expensive because these are pretty interesting projectiles. So we have three different ones. We have a 1100 meter. This is a long range. Oh, yeah, I threw it off. This is a long range 308 round. The flat line is a dominating medium range round with a limited max range potential on purpose. Very interesting. These guys think outside the box. And then the 300 blackout supersonic is effective out to at least 900 meters is what they advertise on this. And so how does this deal work? What's different about this? And this is what I was skeptical when I first started asking him. Started visiting with him, and I'm trying to talk too fast. I'm so excited to see. But these are 134 grain monolithic solid bullets. They're bronze. They're very, very, very pointy on the front. And if I was to pull this out, it's kind of top secret. There's gas checks and different, it appears to be a semi-conventional bullet of this style is what it appears to be just from a novice's perspective. What these guys did was there are some problems with conventional long-range bullet and projectile designs. We talk about this ad nauseum at the RX-17 seminars and in the videos as well. What you're going to have, and I wish I just had a bullet by itself laying here someplace. Like a fiat? No, like the projectile. Oh. But let's say you got the front of the bullet. We'll just pretend this is a bullet here, okay? Just the projectile. You're going to have the center of gravity in the back half of the bullet, and the center of pressure where the most resistance is to the atmosphere is in the front. And so when you elongate that projectile to make it more aerodynamically, sleek, and with a long tapered bow tail so you can get a high BC, what you do is you actually act to destabilize that projectile because your center of gravity is way the hell back here, and your pressure, so it's pushing on the front, and your center of gravity wants to get in front of the center of pressure because the atmospheric force of resistance is pushing this way. Your center of gravity momentum is pushing this way, and they're fighting as it's flying that way, right? And so what happens is the bullet's wobbling, but it's stabilized due to spin, centrifugally stabilized, right? Gyroscopically stabilized, sort of. And what happens is if you got any kind of like transonic barrier you got to defeat, or if something bad happens, that projectile is going to destabilize, and it's going to go ass over tea kettle, and the center of gravity is going to get in front of the center of pressure. Does that make sense, kind of? Yeah. Yeah. She's been to like 2 seminars. She knows how this works.
I got this.
So with that being in mind, there's the dilemma. So you have a projectile that's more difficult to stabilize, right? But it has a higher BC. So for long-range shooting, idealistically, you'd want a projectile that's like easier to stabilize, right? And has a higher BC. But the problem is just the raw math of it, right? So what these guys thought of, because since they invented computers, which I normally hate them things a lot, like this is the computer I'm comfortable with right here, okay? This is really handy because like doing like division and like multiplying against decimals becomes pain in the butt if you do it too much. But these guys operate on these SolidWorks simulation programs and stuff for airflow designs over different surfaces. And because they're using the left part of their brain, which is the artistic part, which is the groundbreaking, think outside the box. You're not like married to any particular way of thinking about a projectile. They thought completely outside the box, and they thought, hey, let's achieve both of these deals by shortening the projectile, but making it really, really sleek using SolidWorks simulation software. And so what they did is they tweaked it. Okay, now there's not a lot going on with the standard bullet profiles, but if you tweak the MEPLAT right up front, and if you tweak, there's little gas check deals on some of these monolithic bullet designs, which actually reduce friction in the bore. It's just a little kind of deal. If you've ever seen a big artillery round, have parts that actually grab into the rifling, and it's not like the whole length of the bullet. That's one of the problems with a lot of the solid copper design bullets is they increase pressure. That's why like some of the solid copper or brass bullet designs will actually have like little gas checks in them, so it reduces the amount of material it has to deform into the rifling, right? And so that's where some of the pressure problems happen. But so you have that, and then you have the heel of the bullet, and then you have how it tapers down, and then you have the heel of the bullet and the ass end of the bullet, so to speak. Okay. So one of the things that creates an enormous amount of drag on a projectile is the vacuum created behind it. And that's how the air is flowing around the MEPLAT, flowing along the sides of the bullet, along the ogive. And there's a lot of guys who experiment with different things. And then you got the gas checks. It's got to make it over there. And then it's got to go around them corners and fold in nice and neatly to get a less vacuum on the back. Otherwise, you create a huge amount of turbulence drag, like a semi-truck going down the road at 100 miles an hour. It's like a huge amount of drag behind the square end, right? That's why that boat tails, it tapers it in. The flow becomes lamellar, right? So it goes around there nice and smooth. Just like on a boat, like if you have a canoe where it's pointing on the front and the back, it glides through effortlessly. If you have a boat with a square end, all that water is like trying to rush in that spot, and it creates a simulated vacuum effect on the backside, which creates drag, right? And so through using their software and having the patience to tweak every detail, including the exact angles on everything, of how they round the corner, like on a very small level, they'll find that you move it, doesn't change. You move it, barely changes. Move it, statistically insignificant. Adjust it, nothing. And you do that for like a million years straight, or have a lot of patience, more patience than I would have to do it. But eventually you hit a spot on the really modern good computer programs for engineers to where that flow becomes like really slick. So now the air goes over the tip and it's like perfectly smooth. It hits the gas checks, and it doesn't create a turbulence as much as the other ones did. And then when it comes around and wraps around the heel and the back, it's drastically reduced drag just because of the way it all mathematically works out. Now, it's very hard to plot out in old tech because you can't sit down with a blueprint and rulers and draw that kind of stuff out when you're talking about fluid flow dynamics. Like, I don't know about you, but like supposedly they call me an engineer sometimes, but that's beyond my level of mathematics. Those guys are really smart. Like there's a lot to it. So with the use of computers, they were able to pull that off. And so what they did was they're dramatically crazy with the exact tweaking they've done, reduce the flow of air around the projectile to where they can say, okay, well, that's a ridiculous amount of airflow, like, smoothing out, and a ridiculous boost in the ballistic coefficient. And so they were able to lighten the bullet, which allows you to increase the velocity. And by lightening the bullet, they made it more proportionally short and stout while still maintaining BCs that are really good. And what they did is they moved that, instead of having a long, sleek bullet design with a high BC, now that they actually know how to be slippery and get rid of the problem in the ass end, they have more stuff to work with. So then they compress it to where the center of gravity is now closer to the center of pressure, and it takes less spin to stabilize it gyroscopically. And in dynamics destabilization of the projectile downrange, what happens is that wobble is exacerbated when it approaches the sonic barrier, and that's where your bullet loses its max effective range in the transonic zone. So effectively, by shortening the distance between the center of pressure and the center of gravity, the bullet is not going to be destabilized because it's so gyroscopically stable that it's not gonna, any kind of wobble it's gonna encounter in the transonic zone ain't gonna throw it off. And so you can go transonic with these, and you can go well beyond the max supersonic range of the projectile now, like in a 300 blackout type setup like this, using this bullet, and it keeps its cone of fire doesn't just drastically open up all of a sudden. So you can maintain whatever level of precision that you started with all the way out into the max distance that thing will fly potentially. And I'm sure there's some level of destabilization that could potentially occur anytime you cross any kind of barrier like that, but it's drastically reduced according to all the testing they've had. So what you got is a really effective long-range bullet that has, it's actually less pressure, it's a lighter bullet, and is shorter, so it's more gyroscopically stabilized. Pretty freaking cool, huh?
Yes.
That's the Professor Rex's lesson of the day.
Professor Rex, not a professional engineer.
No.
But, I mean, Primary Arms says that you're past that. So.
Oh, for God's sakes. I love you doing
Yeah, right. So Freak Gaming had a good question. He said, TiborasaurusRex, why are some long-range bullets BTHP?
Boat tail hollow point, yep.
Thank you. Would the hollow point not slow the bullet down and create a destabilization zone?
So when you're talking about supersonic speeds, right? A hollow point, I mean, sometimes a pointier metplat, the ballistic tip design, right? Like there's one in that box right there. Basically, they figured that for a long time. Hey, if you have a hollow point, it's going to stuck, air is going to get stuck in there and it's going to create more drag. So they invent a ballistic tip projectile like this, where it's basically a hollow point. They just ram some sharp plastic in the front of it, right? To mitigate that problem. Basically what you have happen at a certain speed is that air kind of gets stuck in there and then it's just stuck. And so you have basically the air is the point of the bullet because it ain't going nowhere besides inside where it's at. A certain amount will compress in there and then it'll begin to flow over the top. So it does, it's not as efficient as a real pointy metplat, but it's not like it's catching wind like a sail or a parachute or something. That little tiny tip generally fills up pretty quickly. And the reason, another reason for that is when you have a yaw on the bullet, if you reduce some of the weight towards the front end, there's argument by some folks in different ways of thinking that it's going to minimize the momentum that can be transferred into a yaw that gets induced worse downrange. So there's a lot of different theories on why they keep the weight away from the front of a bullet or open up the, you know, if you ever did a dissection of a Sierra Match King, basically the whole front third of that bullet's almost empty. It's just the jacket and then a little tiny hollow point up there, and then the lead core is like a square section kind of in the back. So they balance them out that way for various different reasons.
Okay. I have to say, hey, Brandon Santos, we do notice you, but he really wanted us to say hi. So
hi.
We see you.
Good to see you guys.
And he was wondering if we're ever gonna go to Brazil.
Well, of course, you got something going on in Brazil we're coming down for? You got a party or something or what?
Yes, Brandon Santos.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So we see you, and hopefully in the future we'll be in Brazil.
Yep.
And then another question we got was from.
And then we'll get into the particular exact loads in a minute.
Okay. On
the TROM bullets there, because that's kind of interesting. Go ahead.
Okay. Mystic Ascending really wanted to know how far you've shot an SBR. If any.
How far have I shot an SBR?
Yep.
Well, then bullets can go pretty darn far, but how far have I shot something and actually hit it on purpose? Typically, like in a 300 blackout, this is a 5.56 here. I mean, I've shot this out to like 500, you know, just with this aim point on here or whatever, you know, and I just kind of hold on and then you hold over until you hit it. It'd be better with probably a different optic on there that actually has BDC compensation designed for that particular round. So 500, I suppose, with the 5.56, but 300 blackout typically without the aid of a BDC drop reticle is 300 meters probably effectively. If you want to go beyond that, you need something with a BDC that's designed properly. And there's not a lot of options that are really effective for that, but I got one on my 300 blackout upper, and there. It's one of them. What the hell do you call them? 1 to 6 ACSS reticle. So.
Sorry, I was tagging. If you guys want to buy Rex's music, you can buy it now on RexReviews.
Buy Rex's music on Rex. What now?
RexReviews.org. We do have it on there. So
I agree.
To ask.
So the different ammo that they sent me was the 300 blackout, and let me. I want to make sure I got the details correct for you guys. Okay. So we have the 300 blackout is the monolithic solid brass 134 grain bullet, and this is effective out to 900 meters in terms of accuracy. Now it's going to have some drop to it because it's, you know, starting off not super high speed, but if you can dial it in there, you're going to be golden. But mind you, the trajectory pattern, like if some guys are going to try to plot this out and get a G value to it, like a G1 or a G7 value for the BC, good luck with that, because all that stuff I just explained a minute ago makes this not fit either drag function properly. Okay, so you can't really put a G value to it, like, or I mean, excuse me, you can't put a BC value to it either in G1 or G7. I mean, we'll try to do our best approximation of that when we do more of our testing, and Mr. Burns has a chance to play around with them in person and do some empirical testing. Right now, he's basing his estimations on some assumptions, so we need to fill in the blanks on those. But yeah, okay, so that was that, the 300 blackout. Then we have the which one did we take out of the box? The flatline?
You said you took the...
There's one called a flatline?
Or I think you took the super...
The 1100 meter one, yep. Yeah. So at any rate, they basically look the same. I mean, they don't look radically different. Yeah, they're basically visually identical at a glance. But, so they have one called the flatline. Okay, now in combat, a lot of times, you know, if you're over in Trashcanistan and you're throwing rounds everywhere trying to kill the bad guys, unfortunately, the United States is losing a lot of money because, like, there's a lot of claims that, I mean, when you have a firefight for like a week straight or whatever, right? There's stray bullets flying everywhere. Everyone and their uncle's going to say they're missing a donkey, or their cat got shot, or their grandma got shot or something, because there's stray bullets flying everywhere. I don't know if you guys ever fired on a night fire course with tracers, but you will never understand how much bullets bounce around like ping pong balls on a ping pong table through a forest until you go on a night fire range with tracers and see like 300 guys line up and just unload on some targets. It's freaking crazy. It's like Star Wars. What's
like
that? Drone Wars?
Battlefront Galactica.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. But like the newer Star Wars with the drones that are attacking. No, Clone Wars. Yeah, that scene where it's like crazy. That's what it's like. And there's stuff flying in every direction, including right back at your face, just from shooting at dirt, you know, or whatever you're shooting at. So the point being said there was something that I forgot. Oh, the flatline projectile. Okay, so this is designed to be very, very fast and super minimal point of impact shift from 0 to, like, we'll say 500-600 meters. Okay, so for designated marksman applications or for standard combat applications in the 3, but particularly designated marksman, they can get on target quickly with very minimal hold-offs. You actually don't have to dial in the rifle to hit the bad guy. If you're holding center mass, you just favor a little bit low or favor a little bit high. You actually zero the rifle bin at 500 meters, and then at the mid-range points that you kind of remember, you just kind of hold a little bit low, like in the abdomen, and then you drill him. And then if he's beyond 500, like out to 600, then you just favor a little bit high, but you're never really totally off target. So without having to adjust your scope, this bullet is so effective at medium ranges that it's like almost like a laser beam. It makes the 308 into like a really flat shooting round with a point blank range 0 of 500 meters, which brings you from 0 to 600 with potentially whatever, like an aim point or whatever, and you just favor up and down a little bit. Nice. Or, you know, whatever optic you run, doesn't matter then. And so you can very quickly engage targets, especially vertical targets that are tall like dudes, really quick. and really deadly because there's no firing solution. You're just kind of like, okay, he's within here. You got to know the range, kind of. You know, so that's going to be important to have a general guesstimation of the range, but it's still forgiving within that distance that you can just kind of, you can visually estimate it if you look at the trajectory of this thing, and it's pretty darn neat how they've done that. But then after that distance, after it goes out a ways, this thing is designed like, has anyone ever seen a flu arrow?
A flu?
Yeah, they call it a flu. So like when I was a little kid, my dad had the recurve bow, and he had all the different arrows, and it was like an old bear from the 1940s, or when they first started making recurve bows for hunting. No sights. It's like a caveman, Stone Age. Like you might as well go build one off a tree branch. But it was actually a nicely made bow, and it had, you know, no sights, nothing. And he had a quiver, like an old leather quiver, and that's what he'd use to kill deer all the time. My old man. So when I started deer hunting, I used that same bow, and then I had a recurve with no sights. And we learned archery old school. But out of all the arrows, all different kinds of colors and makes of arrows, because we're poor, so you lose one here, you break one there, you buy a couple extras. They never make the same brand, the same color. But one of the arrows that was my favorite in the quiver had this really fluffy puffball on the ass of the arrow, instead of just the streamlined, what do you call them, fletchings or feathers or whatever they call them deals. I forget what they call them now. I'm not like Mr. Archery guy anymore. But what that arrow is made for, it's called a flu, and it's meant you shoot it up in the air at a moving bird. So if you got like a pheasant fly out, you pull out your bow and you pull out your flu, and you whap. And if you're a really bad, in an awesome way, I meant like a bad ass guy with a recurve bow, you can shoot a bird out of the air. But if you miss, which happens a lot, or the arrow goes through the bird, it has a very, very effective short range trajectory. But then once the air resistance comes to a certain point, the dynamics of the tail on the feather becomes like a parachute, and it just stops it midair, and then it falls straight to the ground. Wow. And just and it'll stick straight into the ground like this, and then you got it's like a stick with a big colorful poof ball on the top. That's what I think of when I think of these bullets. They're like really effective out to the max effective range that a DMR is going to employ them anyways, especially in a 308, right? Like, you know, 600, maybe 700 meters. After that, they just drastically, like the way it's engineered, they just drop off in speed, and then they just, so they're not flying over the mountain and hitting some dude's mule in the face or donkey in the face or whatever, goat or whatever they got over there. I don't remember. Ibex. And ibex. I always think of ibexes when I think of that place. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. That's the flatline projectile, and we're going to review that, and I'm going to do demonstrations once I'm all healed up from my spine surgery, where I'm running around with like my FAL or with an AR-10 or something, or a bolt rifle, and just run through the targets from 0 to 600 without having to do anything. Like no dialing, no wondering, no measuring stuff. Just bam, 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 and then you hit everything. That's pretty smart. I like that design. But it's designed with the 500 meter zero. And then, of course, that's their flat line. And then the 1100 meter bullets is that same style projectile, the same general technology, a little bit different dynamics in how it's loaded and how it's made and all that stuff. And this is giving you like a really, really far range on your 308. Typically, what would your maximum range on a 308 be? Hey, you should grab your rifle you used.
Yay! You know,
this is Casey's rig now.
You know, when you just fall in love with it because it works so well. All right.
So that's one of them AB Arms rifles. She used that at the RX-17 live fire class, and she hadn't fired like a million rounds out of bolt actions before. And it's in a 308, so she was in a fierce handicap against the 6.5 millimeter guys anyways. But we just gave her a bunch of 175 308 rounds, and you rocked it out to how far were you comfortable with the standard 308 rounds loads?
Comfortably, like knowing I could make it on my first shot was 800, but I did reach out to 1,000 with 308.
Actually, I watched you dig a couple at 1100 too.
At 1100.
Yeah. But you have to fire a few times to get those.
To get 1100,
like you need at least 2 shots.
Yeah, more than once for sure.
Yeah, but like for command fire applications, which is the real test, where you actually aim, like, and you hit 2 or 3 in a row.
4. Which one?
For the 800 meters on the first test?
For 800, we had 2 bullets, so I hit both times in a row, just ding, ding.
And that's for the part of the class where we're testing people. Like, everyone's looking at you, like, and then you're like,
And I was the first one.
And she's the first one in the first squad. Doesn't know anything. Like, all right, dial in for 800 and shoot right now. Go. You're timed. Ooh, you know, like, and she just dialed it in and sent one and nailed it. All right, send another one. Because they had 2 shots to engage the target. You know, 1, and then we'd teach them how to correct fire. So you have 2 shots. You don't get 1,000,000 shots, but you do get 2. Yeah. And she nailed it twice. I was like, what the hell? That's pretty good. Yeah. So she did whatever she was supposed to. But to make a long story short, on the 308, typically you're going to be limited on a max effective range around like maybe 800 meters, okay? And then beyond that, it's like, it's too far to be real effective. Yeah. And
I would say 1,000 wasn't too bad, but 1,100 was, I mean, you really had to try.
But the idea of them special bullets we're just showing you is that'll turn what she was doing at 800 into 1,100. So you get similar easiness. So now you could probably push it quite a bit beyond that. So basically you're changing the entire performance of the entire cartridge just by changing the ammunition you're using because of the projectile design we talked about earlier. Plus, 308 goes transonic right in that 1,000 meter range, depending on exactly what you're running. That's the 300 blackout, sister.
Oh, I know. Somebody just wanted to see what the.
Oh, they were asking. Okay, for those of you that are later watching this and don't read the comments, that's the blackout round. But they're asking for it on the comments right over there. Here,
yeah. Sorry for whoever wanted to see the bullet out of the case.
I thought I'd throw that on. I thought I'd annotate that so people don't think you're retarded or something.
Yeah. Here, check out this bullet. It has nothing to do with.
You knew it was the wrong one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah. So that's the story on the TROM munitions. I won't beat a dead horse, but I'll tell you what. I'm looking forward to testing this. So that was the biggest surprise of the year, probably in terms of like, whoa, thinking way outside the box in terms of ammunition. The other biggest surprise I had this year, being that we're on the end of the year reviews, it's December now for all the heathens that use December on their calendar, crazy Roman people. What am I looking at here? I had something I was going to show you. Oh!
Did you want this?
This is the other review that surprised me, actually, is because same is true with, there's rifle builders are a dime a dozen, in all honesty. And there's a million different outfits that make like tier 1 rifles or whatever, and they all say that. So when these guys were contacting me for it, this is the Axial Precision, same kind of story. Like I'm like, oh boy, okay, sure, yeah, we'll check it out. Oh, and it's kind of a pain in the butt because you know you borrow the rifle for a while, you got to go pick it up, ship it, you got to drive out there, shoot it, find ammo for it. They actually hooked me up with some ammo for the testing, and you got to wrestle with it. And for a guy that shoots guns like full time now, like all the time, it's not as fun as maybe for like normal people. It's like actually works. So I'm like, ugh, go shoot all these rifles at 1,000 yards or a mile or whatever. But this one was interesting because it performed so darn well. And then when we looked at how well it performed with different ammo, I can't hold this anymore. My spinal column is going to snap in half. I'm still on technical restrictions for lifting stuff for another week. Then I'll be good. But it was interesting, and you guys can go back and check out some of the podcasts that we expound on the axial alignment system of the proprietary barrel lockup design, the way the bolt locks together with the asymmetrical. It's like a ovular shape where it's like loose, but then it gets really tight, and then the firing pins. I mean, even down to the firing pin spring, they fixed everything that was like obsolete on the Remington 700 style design. And got all the bugs worked out of it, and it works out pretty good. And the proof of that was we wanted to push these 6.5s. I got 2 rifles in 6.5 Creedmoor, and we went beyond the max range of them, which is a few hundred yards beyond the transonic for the atmospheric conditions, and we're shooting at a mile. And so the bullets, this is the heel of the bullet at a mile. Let me turn it around. It came off the steel when we were shooting it. Can't really see it, I suppose. Oh, there goes the focus, right?
Like this.
Yeah, there you go. It focused. But it's like flattened out in a straightforward fashion, which tells me that it maintained its stability because it hit straight on rather than like halfway sideways or folded in half or some damn thing, which you'll see at that range a lot of times. And so that's an interesting review. I am in the process of, I got a lot of cool footage of them things. Also at the classes too, it's neat because you get to see other guys run it. And there was 2 gentlemen. One we call him Stormtrooper, just because his rifle was like black and white, Axial Precision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then my other buddy was running one of them too. And both them guys did really, those rifles like shooting pretty good. So that was the reviews I was most entertained with this year. So
yeah,
what do you guys want to visit about?
Speaking of the classes, before we go too far, when is our next seminar?
Okay, so that, oh yeah, I suppose before they forget. So like the next live fire is on St. Patrick's Day in California. If them guys want to go, there's still a couple spots open. It's like really limited seating now. And actually, I should probably cut it off because there's like going to be too many people if I don't cut it off pretty soon.
Okay.
But for all the people who did want to still sign up for the seminar and make it to the live fire, there's a new one available in February, President's Day weekend. And you can, I'll put, it's a rexdefense.com is the new site she just built with me. That's rexdefense.com, and you can go on there and it'll give you, so that when this video goes obsolete, it'll give you the current training schedule for all our courses, and all of them are on there. We also got one tactical response with Mr. Yeager. Yay! Rex and Yeager, yin and yang, totally opposite personalities in every way, in the same room. It'll be glorious. It's gonna be really fun to watch. Yeah, it'll be fun. So. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and take some of your guys' questions.
You got any questions? We'll talk about whatever real quick.
We've got, so Mr. I am not going to get this, but Hemi-Mechanic. Oh, thanks.
Hemispherical headers.
Hemi-Mechanic 2 says, hello, sexy Rexy. You think those new federal gold medal match burger 185 grain bullets in 308 make it to 1,000 yards with ease?
185 grain bullets?
Yep. Because
never seen them yet, never tried them.
Or BC is 550-ish. I don't know.
What the heck? I shoot 175s. Them are good. I don't know. I haven't run the math on that, but 505
for a 224
Valkyrie. 1,000 yards. I would imagine that would be fine.
Cool.
I don't know. I have no experience on that. That's a new story to me.
Adam Schuster would like to know, what factory 6.5 Creedmoor would you buy that accepts MIGs and threaded barrel?
Factory 6.5 Creedmoor rifle. There's a lot of stuff on the market. Actually, you know, the Remington, or no, the Ruger precision rifles are very popular. They actually shoot really good, but the back end on them is really sloppy. So you need to keep an eye on the stock, the butt stock. So it's not I don't like stuff that's complicated. The Savage rifles are actually pretty good shooters too. I mean, really good shooters, but likewise too, if you get too complex of a buttstock design, you can make it work, and they're cool, and there's a lot of modularity and a lot of adjustment, but I prefer like one solid piece if possible. So like the Savage Model 12, no, that's not a detachable mag on there though either, is it? But yeah, Savage makes one, I believe, with a detachable mag and a threaded barrel in one of their tactical line, or I don't keep up on all the brand new Savage stuff because I'm not into it, and I run a whole different tier of equipment for my own stuff. But there's Savage, Tikka, and Ruger precision rifles are all viable options in the normal market, I would say.
So Cannon Love 2 says, hey Rex, I love you. But
oh, I love you too, Cannon.
Cannon Love 2.
Cannon Love.
Cannon Love. But where is the Primary Arms HUD DMR Savage review? Some of us are finding to watch the footbar.
Yeah, so he's asking about the HUD DMR review. Okay, so what they're talking about is it's a scope that has BDCs that are actually smart.
Oh.
That's calibrated for like your rifle right there.
Oh. Cool.
It's actually meant for like battle, so it's like meant for M80 balls about right, but it'll work with different ammunition that's similar. Where's the review? It's still coming. Right now it's just a preliminary. I shot a lot of it, and I got actually I got a lot of diverse footage now. I mean, I got that stuff at all different kinds of climates and whatever, and I wanted to be darn sure that I liked it and tested it because it's on a relatively inexpensive scope, which is a plus because it's inexpensive, but then also I'm scared it's going to break, so I like to try to break it for a while first. But yeah, stand by for an imminent review. At some point when I catch up with my emails, I will certainly mix that review down, but it's going to be a positive review.
Awesome.
Overall, there are some things I would not try to do with that scope, but for what it was designed to do, it's the best deal probably in that category.
So, Freak Gaming would also like to know if we will ever sell stickers or products.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want them, I have a hard time believing anyone would want to buy a Rex sticker. You know what I mean? Like,
Could be a
I'm
good
just
time.
a guitar player sitting in my basement with my guns on the wall.
But
You know
then
what I mean?
they could put it on their gun case.
Oh, if you guys think a sticker would be cool, like a Rex head, is that what you want? Or like, would you want a gun sticker? Or
Yeah.
I got a lot of funny ideas in terms of T-shirts. I thought about doing that. I come up with some hilarious stuff on T-shirt designs. I mean, this thing's always working on the humor category.
There's quite a few that says they'll buy stickers. We should do some stickers.
All right, guys, I'll build some stickers. Just keep reminding me.
Yes.
Out of all the different things going on, I will make some stickers. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
I'll make some really good ones. Some really smarty pants.
Look at all these sticker guys.
All right. I'll make stickers. All right, they keep reminding me. They just go forever.
Yeah, Rex skull logo.
The skull logo, that would be cool. I mean, I would want it just for my equipment.
Right.
Then I can put it on there so no one steals it. So actually, I was going to build those anyways, like a metallic black with the lime green, you know, like on the.
That'd be cool.
You know what I'm talking about? The shiny, like put it right on my gun case, and no one can walk off with it because they'll see my dinosaur on there.
Todd 8 Dog says, "Let's see you go off on guitar."
Is there a guitar in here? There's one over in the corner, right there.
This one? Or this one?
Yeah, there's an acoustic over there.
I'll just run back and forth.
Shouldn't ask for it. By the way, the video is horrible on the audio. I bought this for $20 from the thrift store.
Wow.
And I haven't changed the strings.
I can.
Oh, shit. And I tried to destroy it a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to only pay 10 seconds, okay? Just 10 seconds, I'll stop.
Hillary Clinton. Just I won't finish that.
Goodbye, I lie. Don't cry, won't you let it ride? Goodbye, I lie. Don't cry, won't you let it ride? I could see the morning, but I couldn't see the light. Try. Okay. That's the song on the $20 guitar I found.
Just for you guys.
And for the rest, I really apologize for that little episode.
Plain Iron would like to know if you like chicken.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Of course.
Love chicken.
I don't know how that bird is not yet extinct.
I don't think they count, but I like chicken nuggets. I know that's not actually chicken, but you know.
Silicone mercury McNuggets.
Delicious.
I won't even talk about that. You don't even want to know what you think the pepper is on it. It's insects and stuff.
Marcus, Rex is not going to be at SHOT Show, but Lou and I will be there representing.
These guys got some media credentials, and they're going to be at the SHOT Show, and
we're going to get some around. Video to you guys. So stay tuned for that. We'll have something to show you guys. Clap.
They're gonna get Western there in SHOT Show. I heard. I heard stories of the stuff they're gonna do down there.
Yes.
It's gonna be horrible.
Yards. I don't know what that means. Any plans to go to Montana? Maybe in the future.
I'll drive through there at some point. I'm sure. I do gotta go visit with the TROM guys there in Idaho.
There you go.
I gotta drive in that area anyway. So I might drive over to Montana while I'm doing it.
Hi Grizzman. He just wanted to let you know.
Grizzman, what's up?
Will I be in California? Ian wants to know. Ian?
Will you be in California? Obviously, you better come to the class.
Gonna be in. Oh, duh. Yeah. I'll be there, Ian.
Or are you gonna be there?
Or no, Rex will be there. I don't know on that one yet.
If we get enough people to come to the seminar, then I can bring the fun crew with too.
Tell all your friends to
Otherwise,
go,
I make negative dollars. And I'm just trying to be a self-funding unit. That's all I'm trying to do with that whole deal. It's fun. So
yeah. M1A.
But the wife ain't gonna let me lose money anymore on them deals. So
yeah. So Joel McPherson says M1A Scout versus Scar H for Red Dawn.
For Red Dawn?
For Red Dawn scenario.
Ooh, M1A versus the Scar for Red Dawn. Man, I'd actually compulsively grab the M1A.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a traditionalist. and they've been around for a long time. I mean, scars are awesome too. So, but they're they got a goofy footprint on them. I don't know. The M1A is like kind of streamlined, and I don't know. I would grab the M1A. I guess that's me, and I like the way the peep sights are on there, and I would just probably use open sights. Actually, I wouldn't even want a scope on it. Probably.
Cool.
Maybe it'd have something I could detach quick, like a DMR style scope or something like that, and then if it ever got a bullet to it, I could throw it off and use the peep sights and still be comfortable. Okay.
All right. Matthew Dion is new to optics, so he's wondering about an FFP versus an SFP.
Okay, so first focal plane versus second focal plane. He's asking my opinion. The best way to really get the full answer to that without boring a lot of the other people who are well versed in that would be to go to the Sniper 101 series. It's like in the part 20 something. I have a whole video just on first focal plane versus second focal plane, long range scope parameters. There's different ways of thinking about it. A lot of professionals like second focal plane because it's a very fine aiming point, and that's nice to have. But a lot of guys don't like second focal plane because if you change the magnification, your dots move in relation to the target, so you can't use them as effectively for a wind hold off. If you so choose to wind apply hold off, it's easier to get confused or lost. So I like first focal plane just to make the math always simple, and you don't have to pay attention to your magnification at all. Like sometimes in the dark, you don't know what the hell magnification you're at, and if you can see the target area illuminated, you know what I'm saying? There's a million things that can happen, or you just because you're excited. So I prefer first. Actually, my friend Charlie, with Charlie Mike Precision, Charlie Melton, he prefers second focal plane. And so there's different preferences amongst guys who do this all the time. So name your poison and just make sure you operate it properly. That's the main thing. So it depends.
They said thank you. And then what else here?
I think I was actually going to trade somebody something for an M1A.
Really?
A Tavor for an M1A. That's a tough choice. I like the Tavor, but an M1A is pretty cool. Except that company went all communist on me. Did you hear about that? They went communist. Springfield Armory.
I didn't hear all that.
Yeah, they're all in cahoots with the gun grabbers over there. So they can kiss my butt, actually. I'm keeping the Tavor. Sorry, buddy. I'm getting a scar. At least Fabrique Nationale is loyal to their people. Probably. I don't know.
Oh, Fangos asked about website change. We have both websites. So rexreviews.org is our media website. That's where we'll have all of our podcast episodes, new videos, fun information for you guys, ways to connect to other gun guys in the community. And then if you go to the Rex Defense website, that's going to be where we're hosting all of our training, things like that. If you want,
yeah, people are getting lost in the website because it's way too much fun on the Rex Reviews website. So we made a very streamlined place to direct people who are interested in the training schedule and the training classes. We try to arrange it in the smartest way as possible. If you haven't seen it, Rex Reviews, or shit, rexdefense.com is the name of that one. So if you want to see our training schedule, rexdefense.com. There's actually a few classes for next year on there. If you want to jump on before someone else grabs them, go ahead and do that. It'd be awesome to come hang out and see you guys.
Absolutely.
Hey, did we miss supper time?
I think we missed supper time. We should probably see this guy. He is a dinosaur, and I don't know what's going to happen if he doesn't eat.
I'll start eating these freaking bullets right here.
So we'll take one last question. Go. It always is a pause when I do that.
You psyched them out, dude. Why? There's thousands of chickens. Wild ones?
Wild chicken. I don't think chickens are wild. Okay, Knights SR25 ECR in 308 or AIAX in 300 Win Mag for Red Dawn if you are by yourself.
I go for the bolt action.
Bolt action.
Because it ain't going to break. And then with the bolt action, you can acquire many other things, including grenade launchers or belt feds or AKs or assault rifles or whatever you want in a Red Dawn scenario. So you can get you ever see the movie Red Dawn? They started off with like a shotgun and like a Winchester Model 70 or whatever it was, and like a lever action, and the revolver for your and bullets for your granddaddy's pistol. So it's the French Resistance. Remember back in World War II, they had the butter knife concept. The thing I talked about this before. They would start off with the butter knife, and they'd end up with like a MG42 after a while, and then everyone else who they passed all the other stuff to has like, you know, Lugers and K98s and everything else, and then you keep passing the butter knife along and saying, hey, go get yourself a pistol, and then they'd find a Nazi and get a pistol, and then they take that and they're like, I'm going to get a rifle. Boom, they get a rifle, and then they hand the pistol and the butter knife round, and that's what you would do. So I would prefer bolt action because it's not going to break, it's not going to jam up, you're not going to lose parts. So I would at least want one good bolt action at my disposal to have, and then from there you can grab whatever other kind of stuff you need.
Well,
is that a horribly radical answer?
No, I'm just glad
he asked about Red Dawn.
I'm glad I don't have to get my weapons through taking them ever.
And I don't know if butter knife is the proper. It was a steak knife. I don't know.
It's just like this pen, like.
You know, there's a lot of countries where it's illegal to have a pointy knife because you might hurt somebody. You can't even carry around like a screwdriver in London. Like they're gonna tackle you because you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like, all right, I'll be nice. I'll be quiet.
Anyways, we're gonna go get some food. I hope you guys either have eaten or do go eat.
Oh wait, there's my favorite question.
Oh, no.
Have I ever shot long range with black powder guns? Of course, man. It's like when I was a kid, that was the thing. My favorite was a modified rolling block. If you guys never seen a rolling block, you got two hammers. The one you pull the hammer back, and the second hammer is the actual block, the action, and it goes, and then you lay a cartridge in there. But they had to modify it for a 50 caliber, a 50-140 round, which is a 50 caliber bullet with 140 grains of black powder. And I was just a little guy. That rifle weighed 17.5 pounds, and we'd lay on cross sticks and get the peep sight up there. And they had a big old steel buffalo way the hell out there, 1,000 or 970 or something, you know. And you could get a group like this with open sights, you know, out of a 5140 just sitting on your butt on cross sticks. It was pretty cool. Yeah, so absolutely. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out. Do check out the old TROM bullets and stand by for a review on that, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Bye.
Sorry about the music earlier.
It was good.
Exactly.